Yet another Indie 5 here, Rauta. This time we go to various bands, once again 5 different indie releases. And first we take a trip to France with a band called End of Mankind. This is not a very well-known band, previously unknown to me anyway, and this one is interestingly a CDR release by Malleus Records and Maleficarum Records. I got to think about it. If there's a connection, like, why not Malleus Maleficarum Records instead of 2 labels, but maybe there is something that is not known to us. And here it goes, the actual CD with the inlay. As you can see, all the lyrics are printed there, so no booklet whatsoever. And here is how the CDR looks like. So it's not a CD as such. To be honest, I don't know why this is CDR. Probably small labels, not so good with money, not so well funded. And that is why I am pondering this so much, because in fact this is very, very intense album. It starts out with like a fast pounding, very, well, intense black metal, which is right there to begin, kind of violent stuff, and at least I like it a lot. Now the curious thing is, with third track they kind of go to say black and roll type of thing, a little bit reminding me of Bandits of Cloak and Tribulation, with this third track, Drowning in Solitude, which I think is probably the best track on the album. It's very different than the 2 first ones, which are more intense, fast-paced black metal. But towards the end we go, the album starts to kind of go in a decline in terms of quality. It's not that great, but what I like with this album is it's very energetic, it's kind of violent, it's in your face, and it isn't exactly stuck just with, one type of riffs or one type of songwriting. So in terms of being a good album, yes, it's more than just decent, but there are some what I would call minor flaws, which kind of separate this from exactly being great. But definitely worth checking out if you are into black metal. It's not your typical French black metal, if there is such thing in the first place. The second one on this one is Barbarian Swords, and it's called Totemic Anal Turbofucker. What a cringy or edgy title. This one is from Spain, and it's clear that these guys are not just playing around with you. They have some brutal titles here, and they have this upside down cross to make a point here. Nice looking digipack with kind of a glossy cover here, lyrics whatsoever included. As you can see, they're pretty reflective with the light shining from outside, so pardon me from that. Daylight is not exactly helping with this kind of stuff though, so hence my angle here showing you this whole thing here. And then obviously we have this CD, just think the titles and a phallus symbol. Released by Third IREX, this is an interesting case. At first it starts with an intro which is like fun for one time. It's kind of a mockery of a Christian song or something, but then you kind of want to skip it after that one. Now the music then again is very much in your face. It's kind of raw, fast paced, all that. But it also has these kind of slow tempo phases, which I think this album is listed on Metal Archives, at least for the time being, as Doom Black Metal, Black Doom. I don't think the Doom applies here at all, because this is just kind of a rawish black metal with kind of a twist. But the songwriting is a little bit lazy, or maybe it's more like hurried. I mean, it's not very well thought of, especially if you give it a little bit more spins. And in my opinion, this ends up being rather mediocre release. Not bad as such, but so much more like demo level of material in terms of quality. An interesting thing is worth mentioning, this is roughly just some 25 minutes long, despite being labeled as full-length album. So it's like MCD with the price tag of full-length album. So consider that if length means anything to you. Totally different is this band from Finland called Wyrd, and the album called Hex. This is 10th album by this band, mostly known as kind of a Azaghal side project. Those of you who don't know Azaghal, well, it's a rawish black metal, kind of a traditional 1990s style black metal from Finland. been there for a long time, since mid 90s roughly. And Wyrd, which started as Hellcult, has been there around almost as long, since 1998 or so, which is kind of a folkier way of black metal. That is traditional instruments, more nature-oriented style. And by that I mean more like soothing, more atmospheric black metal, which then again is reflected by, waterbird samples, like those sounds when they're about to fly someplace. It's also reflected in the kind of clean vocals, and in general this is more kind of a pagan metal stuff, if you will. Now here it is as 3-man band. This band used to have more members. I don't know what happened to the rest, but anyway, to me it sounds very much still like side project as with the previous releases, because in terms of quality, Azakal totally kicks ass, and Wyrd is seem like a place of leftovers of Azakal. It has some nice ideas, but the execution is not right there. And the clean vocals, well, they are almost horrible. They're not good at all. And I think they're one of the weakest links on this album and totally should be removed. Being 53 minutes in total length, this is a little bit too much for the quality of music, because it's not able to bear all that all the way. So towards the end, at least I felt like I've heard it too much, too many times. Not bad, but pretty similar in terms of quality than the Barbarian Swords. So kind of a mediocre-ish with some nice ideas and totally okayable, if that's a word, production. So there you have it. This one is from Germany. It's a one-man project called Steingrab, which roughly translates, that is, to stone grave. Atlantis is the name of the album, and it's quite a lengthy album with 12 tracks. This is a band that has existed on live as a full band, it seems, according to the information I got, but it's mostly done by one person. And here we have the album as well. And often these kind of black metal bands are a little bit slandered, being called bedroom black metal projects, in a way that, let's do these screamy vocals around in my bedroom while I'm alone and nobody else is bothered. Like, screaming these vocals. and basically recording and just writing the songs just alone while parents or fiancé or whatever is not at home. And as such, the result is somewhat like I made it myself and saved quite a bit of money instead of going real studio with a real producer, with other band members and whatnot. Now I'm here not to slander Steingrab, but I'm just saying that those bands are often a little bit like, maybe you could have actually had the benefit of different people, because they would have extra critic and extra produce value for your stuff. By the way, this is one of the most interesting band pictures for a while. Like posing those muscles without shirt in the background. It's like he's in a good shape, but not that muscular, not like a bodybuilder. I don't know why the picture is there. Makes me feel a little bit awkward. But what about the music? Now, like I said, this is one of those releases which is basically one-man project doing all kinds of atmospheric stuff alone, and unfortunately it's not in a good way, because some of those riffs are really like easy to forget right away. They don't make much of a sense, are not catchy, are not super dark, but somewhere in between. Like I wanted to make this beautiful melody, but it's not really beautiful. I wanted to go really dark, it's not that dark. But I wanted to do something violent, it's not violent. So it's like between a very possible extreme aspect, and the result is not that extreme, to be honest. Not a bad album, but quite mediocre overall. I kind of hate to say it, but I have to. So I didn't find this very captivating. For me, it's not exactly a waste of time, but not something that I would return later on. So Atlantis, unfortunately, you are going to the grade of B albums. Not exactly good, but not too bad to be remembered for it. Last but not least, we have something totally different. This is Mur, M-U-R, with an album called Brutalism. Now, this is a weird case because it's basically post-black metal, but it's also hardcore punk. If that doesn't make you feel a little bit like, what the hell, I don't know what would, as long as we're operating around black metal releases, black metal genre. This is once again released by Ladlow in a beautiful digipack way. It's something that I have mentioned previously in other contexts as well. So nice dark release, very modern in a way, but also having these inverted crosses here to make a point. But the music is strange. At the same time, it operates along those kind of a post-metal riffs and whatever. And here how it opens fully. And also, it's quite hardcore-ish when we talk about the vocals. It's, well, hardcore punk. It's kind of aggressive in your face, like, we're gonna make a statement and we're gonna be really aggressive about it. But it's also like, okay, let's go with these soothing post-rock riffs, you know, because they're just my way to connect with the universe and world and, you know, make me feel a little bit disconnected with the reality that I don't find very suitable for my own. I'm like, okay, now you lost me. So if I lost you, dear viewer, my point here is this is very much a weird hybrid that doesn't really make that much of a sense. On the other hand, it's very heavy and very aggressive and in your face kind of approach, but it's also a little bit like the opposite. Now, does it make an interesting album? Definitely. Does it make a good album? Not so much. Which in result makes me feel this is, like, overall feeling is quite a mediocre release in terms of creating a good album, like in terms of quality. Obviously, for some people, those especially who are into very different kind of metal, like unique kind of stuff, this is definitely worth checking out. You might even like this as the best album of 2019. But is this a game changer? Most of us don't think so. Different, but not necessarily in a good way. But you can find it out by checking out the links below. This is all from Rauta and Indie 5. Take care and enjoy some good music.